There is a secret that few people know, yet it has the power to completely transform the experience of life. Not because it is complex or inaccessible, but precisely because it is too simple to be valued by most. It is a principle as silent as it is effective. And perhaps the most intriguing aspect of all is this. You don't need to tell anyone that you are applying this secret. In fact, the more you practice it in silence, the faster the results begin to appear. In this video, you will discover how to align the mind, the subconscious, and inner energy so that life begins to flow in your favor. We will clearly and practically explain how silent manifestation works, the programming and reprogramming of the subconscious, the state of flow, non-resistance, as well as the role of gratitude and trust in the universe to attract opportunities, synchronicities, and real changes in your reality. Life often seems difficult when there is constant resistance to circumstances, when every obstacle is seen as something to be fought, when every delay generates frustration, when every challenge is interpreted as a sign that something is wrong. But there is another way to relate to reality, a way in which, instead of fighting the flow, you learn to move with it. And when that happens, something curious begins to reveal itself. Opportunities arise unexpectedly. The right people appear at exactly the right time, and doors that once seemed completely closed begin to open almost effortlessly. For many, this sounds too good to be true. But what you are about to understand is not a spiritual fantasy, nor an empty promise. It is a deep understanding of how consciousness interacts with reality. An understanding that, when applied consistently and silently, completely changes the way life responds to you. Before anything else, there is an essential point that needs to be recognized. Everything begins with inner frequency. What you sustain internally, what you believe, feel, and silently repeat within yourself, creates a field of information that projects outward. There is no need to announce this to the world. There is no need to convince anyone. The process works best when it happens away from external eyes, protected from opinions, judgments, and interference. Great researchers of consciousness have dedicated their lives to studying this phenomenon. Among them, Jacobo Grinberg stood out by demonstrating that reality is not fixed and immutable, but a projection shaped by perception. According to his studies, there is a neuronal field, an invisible kind of matrix, where all possibilities already exist in a potential state. What determines which possibility manifests is not chance, but the level of attunement between consciousness and this field. When a person adjusts their inner frequency, their perception changes. And when perception changes, the experience of reality changes along with it. What once seemed blocked begins to reorganize. What seemed distant begins to draw closer, not because the external world was forced to change, but because the way of interacting with it transformed. There is a deep reason why spiritual masters throughout history have cultivated silent practices. It is not about isolation or secrecy out of fear. It is about energetic preservation. When an intention is shared prematurely, it becomes exposed to frequencies that may not be aligned with what one wishes to manifest. Each external opinion adds noise. Each doubt from others creates interference. And little by little, the original energy loses strength. Many people have experienced this without realizing it. An idea arises with clarity, enthusiasm, and conviction. It is shared with someone. And suddenly, something fades. The excitement diminishes. Motivation weakens. Doubts begin to arise where there was once certainty. This does not happen by chance. There is an internal mechanism involved. From a neurological point of view, the brain does not clearly distinguish between talking about something and actually doing it. When you share a plan, the brain releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with the feeling of reward. This release creates the illusion of progress, as if part of the achievement had already been accomplished. As a result, the internal urgency to act decreases. The creative impulse disperses. That is why those who truly build something meaningful tend to act first and speak later. They protect their intentions while they are still forming. They do not seek external validation. They do not need premature applause. They allow the energy to accumulate, strengthen, and organize itself before revealing it to the world. This principle does not apply only to big projects. It is equally powerful in small internal transformations. Changes in mindset, emotional healing processes, identity adjustments, and spiritual evolution do not need to be announced. They consolidate better in silence. When you allow these changes to happen, without the pressure of being understood or approved, the process becomes more fluid and deeper. There is immense strength in silent coherence. When you visualize something, feel it as if it were already real, and maintain that vibration internally without the need to explain it. Something begins to align. The field responds to consistency. Reality adjusts to what is sustained with inner conviction, not to what is proclaimed out loud. When this pattern begins to establish itself, something surprising happens. Opportunities no longer need to be chased. They begin to appear at the right time. Answers emerge naturally. Situations that once required excessive effort start to resolve with more ease. Not because everything became easy, but because resistance diminished. True confidence is not loud. It does not need to prove itself. It manifests as a calm certainty that movement is happening, even when there are no visible signs yet. This confidence creates a stable vibrational field, difficult to be shaken by external circumstances. The universe responds with more clarity when energy is not fragmented, when there is no constant need for approval, when intention is held with presence and discretion. It is in this silent space that flow begins to reveal itself. And this is only the first level of understanding, because as you begin to respect the power of silence and protected intention, a second fundamental factor comes into play: the role of the subconscious and internal programming in the creation of reality. After understanding the power of silence and protected intention, a second, even deeper level of this process emerges: the role of the subconscious in the creation of reality. Most people believe that life is shaped mainly by external factors: luck, opportunities, social context, or other people's decisions. But this is only the surface of what is really happening. On a more subtle level, everything you experience is a direct reflection of the programming installed in your subconscious. The subconscious functions like an invisible database. It stores beliefs, emotional memories, interpretations of the world, and repetitive patterns that influence your choices, reactions, and even what you perceive as possible or impossible. It does not analyze, question, or debate. It simply executes. Everything that has been repeated with sufficient emotional intensity ends up being treated as truth. From childhood onward, each person is exposed to narratives that shape this internal structure. Phrases like, "Life is hard," "Money is scarce," "Success is for a few," or "You can't trust anyone," may seem harmless. But when repeated over time, they become internal commands. Even when the conscious mind wants something different, the subconscious continues operating from these old programs. And here lies a crucial point of the law of attraction. The subconscious does not respond to what you consciously desire, but to what it accepts as true. If, at a deep level, there is a belief that you do not deserve, are not capable, or are not ready, that belief manifests as behavior, choices, and perceptions that end up blocking opportunities, often so subtly that it goes unnoticed. That is why two people can desire exactly the same thing and obtain completely different results. The difference is not in the desire, but in the internal programming. The subconscious does not distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. It responds only to what is reinforced with repetition and emotion. When a person lives under a scarcity program, they tend to see obstacles more easily than possibilities. Even when opportunities arise, they may be ignored, postponed, or unconsciously sabotaged. When internal programming is based on abundance, trust, and worthiness, behavior changes, posture changes, decisions change, and as a result, reality begins to reflect this new pattern. Reprogramming the subconscious is not an instant act, but a process. It happens through conscious repetition, visualization, and above all, the emotion associated with these mental images. It is not enough to repeat words mechanically. The subconscious learns through emotional experience. It needs to feel that the new narrative is safe, coherent, and true. This is where attention to daily thoughts becomes fundamental. The words you use internally shape your vibration. Phrases repeated in silence have as much impact as declarations spoken out loud. When someone constantly repeats thoughts like, "Nothing ever works for me," or "I'm never lucky," these phrases are not just venting, they are instructions. By replacing these patterns with affirmations aligned with abundance, trust, and flow, something begins to change. Phrases like, "Opportunities come to me with ease," "The universe works in my favor," or "I am open to receive," create new internal pathways. But again, the decisive factor is emotion. You must feel the truth of these affirmations, even if at first it requires practice. If what I'm saying makes sense to you, and you feel ready to deepen this experience, I've left a more complete material in the pinned comment. You don't need to look at it now. Just remember it when the time feels right. When the subconscious begins to accept this new narrative, perception of reality adjusts automatically. What once seemed invisible starts to be noticed. Situations are interpreted differently. The same external reality begins to offer new responses because the internal frequency has changed. This process does not require haste. The subconscious responds to consistency, not urgency. The more you try to force rapid change, the more resistance may arise. That is why silent practice remains essential. There is no need to announce that you are reprogramming yourself. It is enough to sustain the new pattern internally, day after day. Over time, the new programming becomes natural. Aligned thoughts arise spontaneously. Old reactions lose strength. And what once seemed like mental effort becomes a stable internal state. It is at this point that manifestation begins to happen with less friction. But there is still an element that accelerates this process significantly: the state of flow. When the subconscious is aligned and resistance diminishes, a sense of synchronicity with life emerges. And that is exactly what we explore next. When the subconscious begins to be reprogrammed and internal resistance decreases, something natural emerges: the state of flow. This state is neither rare nor mystical, but deeply human. It happens when the mind stops fighting the present and begins to cooperate with it. At this point, life starts to move with a different fluidity, as if events fit together more precisely. Many people have already experienced this at some point, even without knowing how to name it. Those periods when everything seems to happen at the right time, the right people appear, answers come without excessive effort, decisions flow with clarity. It is not luck nor coincidence. It is internal alignment reflected externally. This phenomenon is often called synchronicity. Seemingly disconnected events begin to organize themselves in a meaningful way, creating a sense that there is an intelligence operating behind circumstances. This does not happen because something external decided to favor someone, but because the internal vibration stopped emitting contradictory signals. When attention is fragmented between fear, doubt, and anxious expectation, the manifestation field becomes unstable. When consciousness stabilizes in the present, without urgency or resistance, the signal becomes clear. The universe responds better to clear signals. The greatest obstacle to entering flow is desire charged with anxiety. When something is desired with fear that it might not happen, what is activated is not intention, but the feeling of lack. This is a paradox of manifestation. The more someone tries to control the outcome, the more resistance they create. Resistance arises from silent questions like, when will it happen? Why hasn't it happened yet? Or, what if it never happens? These questions seem harmless, but they carry a vibration of distrust. They communicate to the subconscious and to the field that the internal state is still based on absence. The state of flow begins when this constant monitoring diminishes, when a person acts but does not cling, when intentions are set, but the path is not micromanaged. This does not mean passivity, but action without tension. Aligned action, not desperate action. Non-resistance is directly linked to acceptance of the present, not as resignation, but as recognition of the exact point where you are. When there is internal struggle against current reality, energy disperses. When there is conscious acceptance, that energy reorganizes itself. There is a subtle difference between wanting something and emotionally depending on it. When happiness is placed in the future, the present is experienced as insufficient. This feeling of insufficiency becomes the dominant vibration. The field responds by keeping the experience of lack active. On the other hand, when a person finds a state of inner completeness in the present, even while desiring more, the vibration changes. Desire stops being need and becomes expansion. It is at this point that manifestations begin to occur more naturally. Gratitude is one of the most effective shortcuts to this state, not as a mechanical technique, but as genuine recognition of what already exists. When attention turns to what is working, the field receives a signal of abundance, and abundance tends to expand. Letting go of control does not mean abandoning goals. It means trusting that the path does not need to be rigidly defined. Many opportunities arise precisely when the mind stops insisting on a single form of outcome. The universe operates with possibilities broader than immediate logic can perceive. When non-resistance is established, the experience changes. Answers appear without conscious effort. Ideas arise at the right moment. People enter and leave your life naturally. Doors open without needing to be pushed. This is the state in which manifestation stops being a mental effort and becomes a natural consequence of alignment. Flow is not something you force. It happens when the mind stops blocking. And when this state becomes more frequent, something important happens. Trust deepens. Not naive trust, but a calm certainty that life responds. This trust further reduces resistance, creating a positive cycle of alignment. But for this state to be sustained, understanding must be turned into daily practice. And that is exactly what completes this process. When the state of flow begins to become more frequent, a subtle yet decisive understanding arises. Not everything needs to be said, explained, or shared. There is a specific power in silent actions, and this power is directly linked to the preservation of creative energy. Great spiritual masters have always known this. They did not practice in search of external validation. They acted in silence, allowing intention to strengthen internally before manifesting in the world. Silence is not the absence of action, but the concentration of force. Whenever an intention is revealed before it matures, it becomes exposed to interference. Opinions, doubts, and others' expectations begin to mix with the original vibration. Even well-intentioned comments can create noise. The internal field loses coherence. There is also an important neurological factor in this process. When someone talks about a plan before executing it, the brain releases dopamine, creating a premature sense of achievement. This reduces real motivation to act. The body unconsciously believes that part of the goal has already been achieved. That is why many promising ideas lose strength after being shared too early. The initial excitement dissipates, clarity diminishes, and momentum fragments. Not by bad luck, but by energetic dispersion. The practice of conscious silence protects intention. When something is kept internally, without the need for approval, vibration strengthens. Energy does not divide, it condenses. And the more condensed it is, the more powerful it becomes. This does not apply only to big projects. Small internal changes also benefit from silence. Emotional healing processes, mindset transformations, and new habits grow better when they are not constantly exposed or explained. When a person learns to act without announcing, something curious happens. Results begin to speak for themselves. The field responds with greater precision because the intention was not contaminated by external doubts. This posture creates a new relationship with the world. The need to prove diminishes. The urgency to be understood disappears. Focus shifts to internal coherence, not external reaction. Silence also teaches discernment. Not every intention needs to be shared. Not every process needs to be observed. Some things grow better in darkness, like seeds in the soil. They do not need constant attention, only stable conditions. When this understanding integrates, manifestation becomes more fluid. Energy stops being wasted on explanations, comparisons, or justifications. It is directed toward practice, alignment, and consistent action. The universe responds better to those who trust the process without needing to announce it. There is a particular strength in those who act without fanfare. A silent authority that does not depend on external recognition. And when silent action combines with a reprogrammed subconscious and an active state of flow, reality begins to reorganize in an almost imperceptible, yet effective way. Doors open at the right time. Opportunities arise without forced effort. This is the foundation of mature manifestation. Clear intention, aligned emotion, coherent action, and strategic silence. Now, what remains is to integrate all of this into continuous practice. The greatest block to manifestation is resistance. When you fight the present or try to rush results, you emit lack. The universe responds to the internal state, not to desire. Not resisting is not giving up. It is acting without tension, anxiety, or dependence on the outcome. When the mind accepts the now, energy stabilizes and responses arise more fluidly. Gratitude dissolves blocks and signals sufficiency. And it is from this state that doors open naturally. The universe does not respond to hurry, but to coherence. The final question stops being, when will it happen? And becomes, what state am I sustaining right now? When there is trust, the path organizes itself. If this message truly resonated with you, if you felt that quiet inner shift, that sense that your mind is ready for something greater, I left a resource in the pinned comment that goes deeper into this process. I only recommend it for those who feel genuinely ready to accelerate their results, but follow it in your own time. If it calls to you, you'll find it there. Before you continue, make sure you've watched the previous video. It reveals 5 hidden ancient techniques that help regulate your energy and create the foundation for everything discussed here. Watch it first, practice at least one technique, then come back. You'll feel the difference. Comment what you noticed. Subscribe to follow the next step.